Why would empathy be important in our line of work? Yeah, this is a subject I'm very interested in, because it represents an area of learning for me. I might start at the middle, literally and figuratively, because I think this is about an area of intersection between the job I do and the job product managers do, or UX and design folks do. And that's about empathy. And I think the connective tissue. Oh, let me explain why I'm talking about literally and figuratively in the middle. I'm thinking of an intersection in a Venn diagram, and I have a picture which I'll share, and maybe we can put it up on one of these sides, right? But if you imagine agile coaching as a circle, product management as a circle, in the intersection, there's some activities that I think we have in common, and empathy is one. So the beginning of this was in learning, doing the coach training and certification, like coaching, not agile coaching. And in coaching, if you look at the ICF, it's all about outcomes, right? Coaching towards the outcomes the client wants, right? Customer or client outcomes. It's very much the language of coaching. That sound familiar? You know, like if you go to user story mapping, the one I always keep referring back to, I think it's a great resource still. It's all about, like, what outcome are we working towards? Who's it for? Tell me about that person. What do they want? How will we know they're successful? What will we see or hear that'll be different? What possible ways could we solve or reach this outcome? And I feel like the ideas of understanding the outcome, understanding the customer, are fundamentally in the overlap between the two roles. And that's my starting point. I don't want to talk for too long, but that's my starting point.
I'm
how does that land so far?
I'm thinking that if you were to visualize it, it's like agile coach, PM, product manager, client. The empathy would be from PM to client, from agile coach to PM. So they empathize towards client, we empathize towards them. We as agile coaches.
I would say I would visualize it differently, that the PM's role, in order for everybody to be creatively engaged and more than just cognitively engaged, actually bring a little bit of emotion to this problem solving as well. That part of the PM's role is to make sure everybody has empathy for the customer, whether it's, you know, and we've talked about this before, right? Whether it's the B2B, the buyer, whether it's the end customer, somehow we need to have an awareness and an understanding of both, right? And also for me, an agile coach, like, I need to bring that empathy to everybody, not just the customer. And I think product managers have to do that too, because they're dealing with suppliers or internal stakeholders or other product teams. We're coordinating to get things done. We have to not just be aware that it's difficult for other teams to prioritize the things that we need, right? We have to build relationships in work, and you can't fake that. Like, you do have to bring yourself into that. And I think that requires empathy. So maybe I'll bring my definition of empathy, right? Because I think I'm describing some things that are based on assumptions, but it's from Daniel Goleman's Emotional Intelligence, right? Now that might be an old resource, but I really enjoyed it. I read it last year or the year before, and he's got three areas, right? One is cognitive, one is the kind of feeling part, the emotion part, and the other is that's empathy that we would probably traditionally understand, but the other is empathic concern for others, right? And my learning journey on this is I was good at cognitive empathy. I think I get what the problem is, right? I can propose logical responses to the problem, right? And I'm good at understanding the emotions of others. But this is about self-management too. And that sometimes gets a little bit lost in the definition of empathy. But I noticed in the product managers that I worked alongside, they were really good at that self-management stuff because they'd be going to different rooms with different senior people, kind of high stakes conversations about lots of unknowns and able to represent that, get the feedback they need. Maybe, you know, in an emotional room, get the feedback that they need. And when I say an emotional room, I mean like anger, you know, uh, unhappiness, general disagreement, stormy rooms, right? Not necessarily all sweetness and light, but able to move through those rooms and come away with their batteries not empty, and that takes
Mm,
self-management, preparing for that, managing yourself in the moment and then recovering. Like this is a part of empathy, I think.
that's interesting. It's like going to a room and telling someone that I understand your ask, your request, or whatever it is, and I need to down prioritize it, or it's not something we will work on in the foreseeable future, or
Yeah.
yeah, that might get some stakeholders, make them unhappy.
Yeah, and this is another thing that we have in common with product managers, and it's the Jeff Patton quote. There's always more to build, and there's always more to do than we have time or resources for, always. Whether you're a product owner, product manager, or Scrum Master / Agile coach, you always have 100 ideas in your head for things that you think you could do. You always have 100 requests coming in from many different stakeholders, ideas for things that could get better. So you have to say no.
Yeah,
And this is the other part as well, that setting limits on where you invest your empathy
yeah,
is necessary. It's really necessary. And I think I learned that over the last 4 or 5 years, that saying no, you know, unless you can practice that, unless you can get good at that, you're going to be potentially pulled in too many directions and start doing a worse job. So this is a skill, I think, empathy, and it's not just about being. I don't think it's just about being the emotional, available person. That's a part of. I think it's about self-management. And if you look at the agile coaching growth wheel, it's right in the middle. Like it's right in the middle, self-mastery and self-management. Um, so it's a really interesting topic for me. And I think as the discourse online is all about AI and how will AI help us, I think this is what can really help us more. Because AI can never learn. Well, it can fake it, but can it really learn empathy? I mean, maybe that's a question for the next episode.
I wanted to ask about something different because you said or you mentioned the product manager towards the team or pulling the team into the conversation about the customer and their problems.
Yeah.
Can you put a few more words into that? I'm super interested in that subject.
Yeah, like this to me would be, I mean, I'm going to come back to L. David Marquette, right? The Leadership is Language book. And he talks about giving information, not instructions. So that's the principle that I'm thinking of here. I think a really good product manager will bring research and bring a deep understanding of the customer, what they need, the problem space, the alternative options that the customers have, the current solution that's in place, and involve an engineering team or teams of teams, groups of teams in debating, deciding how best to solve that problem. Now, in an enterprise context, that's hard to do, right? And that's why product management is a really hard job, because I know how I work when I hear about someone with a problem. I go, "Oh, I'll solve that for you, right? Here's a solution." But the best product managers, I think, understand that the best solutions are sometimes just outside of their visibility, and the capabilities of the system are best understood by the people with a deep knowledge of how it works and what they can build and what's possible, what's achievable. So I think bringing that in collaboration, I should say, with UX and design, bringing that research, that user research, that market research, that understanding of the request or the demand, wherever it's come from, bringing all of that in a easily understandable way and saying, okay, here's one option that I thought of. Discuss. Is this any good? What do you think?
Yeah.
And depending on the team that you talk to, some teams will sit back and go, just tell us what to do. Fine, if that's the environment you're in. But I think a lot of teams, an awful lot of teams I've worked with, want to be creatively engaged at that point and not told what to do. They want to feed into the solutioning. But that's where I was coming from with that. And I think the empathy with the customer, the empathy with I'm not just cognitively engaged. It's not just like I will add a field to the page that has a checkbox
Yeah.
and therefore the problem will be solved. It's like, I really get it. I understand why we're doing this. I think to to talk to the kind of personal learning there, I think there is, what we're looking for, I think, in our careers are transferable skills, things that we can bring to any situation, right? There's a lot of talk about how do we adapt, AI, the changing markets, the future of, agile transformations, digital transformations. What will the roles be called? What will we be doing? So these kind of transferable skills, I think, are really, the things that will contribute to our durability, our careers, our learning, our journey in this work. And to me, I think Jeff Watts quotes it in Product Mastery. And he says, like, the difference between the good and the great product owners, he's talking about product owners, is the human softer skills. They're the things that will help differentiate you because, and there's a great, I'll share the article as well. There's a great post from the, I think it's the Norman Nielsen group, or Nielsen Norman group. I may have mixed up the name. Nielsen Norman group, about the use of empathy in UX activities, and how if you invest a little bit more in understanding, empathically what you're doing, the work you're doing, the users that or the customers that you're after, the market that you're after, the segment you're targeting, you'll be more effective in a product role, in a UX role, and ultimately in the solutions you bring. And I think at a day-to-day level, the idea of thinking about the three batteries that you have available to you, my intellectual curiosity, where am I today? How is my level? How is my battery? My understanding of myself and my need to possibly take care of myself a little bit today. Where am I? How am I doing with that? And then my concern for others. Where's my battery? How much empathy do I have for other people today? Because if I can't bring any of those things, then maybe I should tune my daily schedule accordingly, right? Maybe today is the day to say, you know what, this afternoon, I'm going to move those meetings out because I literally just need to recharge a little bit. Or maybe it's about how we use our free time.
Yeah.
I'm going to look for the opportunities I need to recharge one battery or another. And for me, this was about observing. In the coach training, I got told as a client, right? So when you do coach training, you flip roles and you coach and are coached. And I was given feedback a lot that I was very comfortable engaging as a coach on emotional topics, talking about other people's emotions. But when it came to my conversations, I would always go down the thinking route. I would say, well, logically, we could do A, B, or C. And the coach would be saying, yeah, but that's not really what I'm asking. So that was the feedback that took me on this sort of journey to learn more about this stuff. Did you ever hear the word alexithymia?
No.
It's in the Goleman book. Ironically, it's a difficult word to describe how we don't always have the language to explain the emotions we're feeling.
Yes.
Which I think is a quintessentially like male thing. Maybe I'm biased there, right? But if you're asked, how are you? I'm good. Okay, tell me more. Oh, pretty good. Yesterday, not so good. Today, better. So, oh, okay, what else? And it does it takes practice, it takes paying attention, and it takes experimentation, right? To understand, like, what is the language I need to use here to articulate the things I'm feeling.
Yeah.
And it's uncomfortable, right? You need vulnerability too. But I would argue that there are ways to do that that are still authentic. You don't have to be suddenly become a hippie. You don't suddenly have to become a new age, oh my God, guys, let's all talk about our emotions, right? It doesn't have to be strange. You can do it in authentic ways. And here's the other thing. In my limited journey on this so far, people respond. And it's it's an enjoyable kind of experiment. Um, Especially if you name it and say, look, I don't normally do this, but I'm going to just talk about how I'm feeling about this today. You might be surprised by the reaction you get simply by naming an emotion. Like, it doesn't even have to be dramatic language.